With the advent of the 15th and 16th century, the unity and coherence of the Christian Middle Ages began to unravel. The Renaissance began in Italy in the 15th century and came to full blossom in the 16th. It included the Elizabethan period in England, the Golden Age in Spain, and continued to spread on the continent through the 17th century, when it was embraced by the newly formed French Academy in the neoclassical period. A remarkable time in Western history, this explosion of thought and creativity was no spontaneous event, but a complex period that developed due to a variety of factors. First, the fall of the Byzantine Empire and a rediscovery of ancient texts sparked a renewed interest in classical thought. The breakdown of the feudal system, coupled with the rise of towns, significantly influenced an emerging sense of personal responsibility and freedom in the merchant classes. And finally, Gutenberg's invention of the printing press allowed for the quick duplication of both the Bible and classical texts, and made education and the exchange of ideas possible on a grand scale. The second consequence of these developments was the traumatic dissolution of Christian unity in the Reformation. At the end of the 15th century and the beginning of the 16th, Christian humanists sought to apply the new style of scholarship to the study of scriptures in their original languages and to return to the first principles of their religion. In the interest of spreading religious understanding, they began to translate the Bible into the vernacular languages. The Renaissance belief in the perfectibility of man made people less content with things as they were, and more interested in improving them in the here and now. No one could argue that the church was not corrupt. Holding vast wealth, exercising enormous power and waging war, it was administered by people in patronage positions who more often than not had more interest in lining their pockets than the spiritual welfare of their flocks. The reforms introduced by Martin Luther ultimately erupted into wars of religion through much of Europe. Differences of climate, temperament, and language, coupled with deep divisions in religious belief, promoted an expanding awareness of nationhood, which was often expressed forcefully in the theater. Foreign clothes, speech, and manners became frequent subjects of ridicule in comedy. Villainy becomes a characteristic in tragedy that playwrights can ascribe quite convincingly to foreigners. Nationalism was fueled, too, by a shift toward absolutism in government. The prince, or the head of state, was transformed into a godlike being and replaced the church as the primary power exerting influence over the lives of the populace. The simultaneous development of the Renaissance and the Reformation in Western Europe led to differences in the way that the theater developed in Italy, England, Spain, and France. In the next 3 weeks, we'll examine how Renaissance ideals, coupled with religious upheaval, affected the development of theater architecture, playwriting, and performance styles in these countries.